All right, today we're jumping into a topic that has completely exploded, moving way beyond just a tech buzzword and into our daily lives. Artificial intelligence. It is changing, well, pretty much everything. So over the next few minutes, we're going to break down what it actually is, how it really works, and where this is all going.
You know, it's funny. All those little bits of magic in our modern lives, the answer, almost every single time, is artificial intelligence. It's the engine humming just beneath the surface, powering the smart gadgets and hyper-personalized services we rely on constantly, a lot of the time without even thinking about it.
So what even is AI? Look, there's no single universally agreed upon definition, but the core idea is pretty straightforward. It's the science, the art really, of making machines smart. The whole goal is to build tech that can simulate how humans think and solve problems. Basically, to recreate the functions of our own brains, but inside a machine.
To get a real grip on AI today, we've got to look back at where the idea came from. And you might be surprised to learn that the dream of a thinking machine is way older than you'd think, even though the real action didn't kick off until the last century.
Yeah, this fascination goes way, way back. We're talking ancient myths about giant automated warriors. But the modern story really begins in 1950 when the legendary Alan Turing proposed his famous test for whether a machine could think. Just 6 years after that, the actual phrase artificial intelligence was born. From there, it was off to the races, with huge milestones like IBM's Deep Blue beating the world's best chess player, and later, Google's AlphaGo dominating the incredibly complex game of Go, which really kicked off the age of deep learning.
Okay, so to really get how AI works under the hood, we need to unpack three terms you hear all the time: AI, machine learning, and deep learning. They're all connected, but they are not the same thing. The best way to think about it is like a set of Russian nesting dolls. Each one fits inside the other. So AI is the big doll, right? It's the grand overarching mission. But that immediately brings up a huge question. How in the world do you get a machine to actually be intelligent? How does it learn and get smarter without a human programming every single little thing? Well, that's where the next doll comes in.
And that's machine learning, or ML. This is the real engine of modern AI. Instead of writing millions of lines of code for every possible scenario, you just feed the system a mountain of data. The machine learning algorithm crunches through all of it, starts to see patterns on its own, and then learns to make predictions or decisions based on those patterns.
Now let's open one more doll. Inside machine learning, we find deep learning. This is a super powerful, more advanced type of machine learning that uses something called deep neural networks. And here's the cool part. These are directly inspired by the web of neurons in our own brains. These super complex, layered networks are amazing at finding really subtle patterns in huge amounts of data. This is the tech behind stuff like facial recognition and self-driving cars.
Here's a great way to lock it all in. Imagine AI as the big, ambitious goal of building an intelligent factory. Machine learning? That's the process of teaching the factory workers, the algorithms, how to do their jobs by showing them examples. And deep learning? That's your master craftsman, the specialist who uses incredibly complex blueprints, the neural networks, to handle the most difficult, nuanced jobs on the assembly line.
So, now that we've got the basics down, let's talk about the different kinds of AI out there. And this is so important because it helps us separate the AI that we actually have today from the stuff we see in the movies.
Okay, this is probably the single most important thing to understand. Right now, every single AI system on this planet, and I mean every single one, is what we call artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. Some people call it weak AI. It means it's incredibly good at one very specific narrow task, like playing a game or recommending a song. What we don't have is artificial general intelligence, or AGI. That's the sci-fi dream of a machine that can think, reason, and learn just like a human across all sorts of different tasks. And AGI, well, it's still just a theory. It does not exist.
And you can see this so clearly when you look at the AI you use every day. Think about it. Siri is a master at setting timers, but it can't have a deep conversation about philosophy. Google Maps is a genius at finding the fastest route, but it can't help you with your taxes. Even these amazing new tools like ChatGPT are still a form of narrow AI. They are absolute wizards at generating text because that's the one specific thing they were trained to do.
And then, way out there on the horizon, there's the third, purely hypothetical stage, artificial superintelligence, or ASI. This is the mind-bending idea of an AI that isn't just as smart as a human, but becomes unimaginably more intelligent than all of humanity combined in every single field, from science and engineering to art and emotional intelligence.
And it's that idea, the idea of a superintelligence, that leads to some of the most serious warnings we've ever heard about technology, like this unforgettable one from the great physicist Stephen Hawking. It just goes to show you how high the stakes really are as we push this technology further and further.
Okay, but let's pull back from that far-off future and get grounded in the here and now. How is the narrow AI we actually have changing our world today? Both the good and, the not so good.
Well, its impact is already massive. We've got natural language processing, or NLP, which lets machines understand our language. It's what powers Alexa and also what lets companies analyze thousands of customer reviews in a blink. Then there's computer vision, which gives machines the sense of sight. That's critical for self-driving cars and for helping doctors spot diseases in medical scans. And of course, robotics and generative AI are completely upending everything from how we build things to how we create art and write code.
But, like any powerful new tech, AI is absolutely a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's incredible. It can reduce human mistakes, it can work around the clock, and it can take over all those boring, repetitive jobs nobody wants to do. But there's another side. It's hugely expensive to build, it still can't come close to true human creativity, and it forces us to ask some really tough questions about jobs being replaced and whether we're becoming too dependent on our machines. So, what's coming next? We've just lived through the explosion of generative AI. What's the next big evolution that we should all be keeping an eye on? Well, a lot of experts are pointing to one thing: AI agents.
Now, an AI agent is a whole different beast from a chatbot. A chatbot just responds to what you type. An AI agent is autonomous. You give it a big, complex goal, like, hey, plan me a trip to Japan for 2 weeks and keep it under $3,000. And it can go out, create its own step-by-step plan, use tools online, book flights, reserve hotels, and actually get it done. It's a huge leap from a tool that just answers questions to an assistant that actually takes action.
And as we think about that future, it's always good to remember what's at the core of any AI system. It always comes down to these three things. You need data, that's the fuel. You need algorithms, those are the instructions, and you need a massive amount of computational power. That's the engine. If you take away any one of those three pieces, the whole thing just grinds to a halt.
And here's another thing that's so important to keep in mind. No matter how human-like an AI sounds, no matter how well it can simulate being happy or sad, it doesn't feel anything. It has no consciousness, no awareness, no genuine emotions. At the end of the day, it's just an extremely complex pattern-matching machine, reflecting back the patterns it found in the data we gave it.
So if you strip away all the hype and all the fear, here's the key takeaway. AI is not magic, it's not a person, it is a tool. And just like any tool in human history, from the first stone axe to the internet, its impact on the world, for good or for bad, is going to come down to how we, the people, decide to use it.
And that really leaves us with the biggest question of all. As this technology weaves itself deeper and deeper into our society, we all have to ask, is it ultimately a friend that's going to help us build a better world, or is it a foe that poses challenges we can't even imagine yet? The answer isn't clear, and figuring it out is the great task of our time.